I want to talk a little bit today about F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Why?
You hate F. Scott Fitzgerald. Why in the world do you want to talk about F. Scott Fitzgerald?
Well,
Did you reread The Great Gatsby or some shit?
thankfully, no. Now, many people don't know this. Dad knows this because I went on about a 45-minute tirade about how, F. Scott Fitzgerald's a bad author. He's not good. Like, I can't believe they make you read his books in school. Hey, you shit's boring and you're not a good author. Also, it's unnecessarily racist. Is it necessary? I just wonder. Is it fully necessary, 1920 or no, to use the N-word when describing someone's feet?
The answer is no, but it is an interesting time in American history because in the 1920s, there's an enormous resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan in places as diverse as Denver, which in the 20s was ruled by the Klan. Colorado was ruled by the Ku Klux Klan in the 20s. They had an enormous political machine, and they were able to install the governor of Colorado, the mayor of Denver, and many other high positions across the state.
Huh. Wow, that sucks for black people in Colorado.
It did suck for black people in Colorado because there were many cross burnings in Denver and in locations like that across the state of Colorado.
It really just sucked for black people everywhere, not just Colorado, honestly.
Well, you're right.
Most of the time. Now we have H.P. Lovecraft, who also wrote shit in the early 1900s. And there's a lot of racism in there, which is not okay, not cool, not necessary, but at least he was a good author. When you read H.P. Lovecraft, you're like, holy shit, this dude wrote this in the 20s? This is crazy. This is next gen shit. And of course, nobody gave a fuck until after he died. So that's what you get for using the N-word unnecessarily in all your stories. Not that was the reason nobody liked it. But the point I'm trying to get here is that F. Scott Fitzgerald, I am not a fan of burning books normally. But if you learned that somehow through some sort of paracausal event that all of F. Scott Fitzgerald's writings are completely erased off the face of the earth, truly, would you give a single fuck?
No, I wouldn't. If you want to look at an author I would bemoan not having around, it would be Ernest Hemingway. Obviously I'd miss him. If his works didn't exist, I'd miss Stephen King, the most underrated writer in American history.
Man, shut up.
I know. Does anyone jack themselves off? Listen, there's two people who jack themselves off the most. People who became successful off writing fiction novels and chefs. You know what I mean? Does anybody jack themselves off more than a chef?
Yes.
Well, you would know.
You know who does? Successful podcast hosts.
That's right. Very successful.
A shin show.
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 Dude, that meme Taylor sent earlier to the group chat was pretty funny. It was like three Disney characters, and it's like every podcast host is one of these.
It's funny because those three pictures are the pictures used, like when people make a clip of Cumtown, like whoever's talking, they use one of those three. That's like the common avatar for those fucking guys.
I'm going to Reddit out the whole, look how the podcast avatars are.
Yeah, edit that all out. But,
But leave it
fuck Israel.
That's definitely getting edited out.
No, keep that in. I'd fuck them. I'm not down with that. I knew nothing about it. I just keep seeing videos of them kidnapping. I know I've said this so many times.
Haven't we done a bit on Israel? Didn't we have a discussion about the whole?
I said basically this whole thing. And the dad's like, it's a complicated problem. And I'm like, I don't think it's complicated. It just seems like you're a run-of-the-mill ethnic cleansing to me. But standard, average ethnic cleansing is what it seems like. And that's what it is. I mean, but whatever. It's fine. It is what it is. Hey, screw it. They're dead and you're not.
It is a complicated issue. Sorry to come out with the same thing, but it's complex.
Yeah, I don't think so. Here's the issue. They're ethnically cleansing Palestinians. That's an issue, Now, you could say that the reasons they think that that's okay are complicated. Maybe. Sure, I'm sure they are. I'm sure the mental gymnastics for shooting unarmed people running away in the back and throwing children in cages, the mental gymnastics necessary to justify that, I'm sure, are very complicated. But the issue is a very simple one, and it's an issue of ethnic cleansing.
I'm going to be candid. I don't really know enough about it. I need to educate myself. I do. And if what you're saying...
I mean, doesn't even fucking who, what are we going to fix this? You know what I mean? Is anybody going to stop anything? Like, is any,
Well, not at our level.
Does anything matter really when it comes to...
Not at our level.
No, no.
Anyway, I'm moving to Gaza.
I guess it does matter to you then. Hey, so while I was eating dinner, which was ice cream, I got a notification from the Times that said that Democrats just proposed a bill to federally decriminalize all drugs. I don't know if it's all drugs, but federally decriminalize drugs and expunge existing federal records, and then work with federal judges to resentence people who are currently in prison.
If any of that happens, I will blow myself.
Better get to stretching.
I mean,
And then-
I just want to blow myself either way, but
All right, contortionism.
still, maybe one of those things, maybe the decriminalization of drugs, but like reappraising people's sentences due to that's not. There's no way they could get through everyone. I mean, just the volume of people in prison for the bullshittery is.
Well, you'd have to go through the court. So it would be people who are smart enough to have a lawyer. There'd be lawyers who'd do it for money. There'd be people who'd pay them. It'd be a lucrative thing. Anytime there's a change in the law, there's money to be made.
Of course, but we're talking about I'm just saying, like, the sheer volume of people who have been wrongfully imprisoned over these wrongful criminalization of these drugs. You're never sure there's going to be people who are smart enough to get a lawyer and all the other things you said. And so that accounts for what? 5% of all the total people who,
No, man.
you know what I mean?
I mean, there's lots of people in prison with a lot of families who can come up with $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for a lawyer to get their guy out of jail for good. And I'm
Yeah,
sure
but there's
it wouldn't be
more
any
who
kind of
don't.
blanket amnesty. You'd have to, it would be complicated. You'd have to appeal on the basis of the new law, all this other shit. I'm sure they wouldn't make it easy.
Yeah, you're making my point for me. Like, so few people.
You don't know that for sure, though.
What?
That so few
What,
people
that the
would.
legal system fucks people? I mean,
No, that's not what I'm saying.
so few people.
I'm just saying it would be a bonanza. What I'm saying to you, son, is that the profit motive for the attorneys would far outweigh the backlog.
But you gotta have the money to pay for attorney. You're saying, yeah, these people have families who could get. If that was a really common thing,
What they'll do is they will form groups of lawyers who do this shit pro bono for the families, but raise money, like grants and fundraising, that kind of stuff. to do
sure,
it.
they are going to do that. But how many will they get? You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, you got to understand how many people are imprisoned over this shit.
I understand how
you
many.
can't get to them all. You just can't. You won't.
You don't know that.
Neither do you. So I guess we're in the same fucking boat.
Yeah, I guess I'm a complete ignoramus. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I had a thing.
Looked like you were.
Moose is being a dick.
Yeah,
Moose was being a dick, and I had to scream at him.
I understand. These things happen. We have so many animals around here that there's a lot of screaming and shouting and yelling. That's actually not true. All of the animals are fairly well behaved.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
You should have them all killed.
So the bottom line, though, is this. In terms of the bill that might decriminalize marijuana, I'd actually have to see this thing. I can imagine that would pass.
You didn't say it was. You said it was all drugs.
It was
right?
all drugs. And actually, a statistic in that article that I actually read was that 27 states and DC have already decriminalized marijuana, which I thought was a pretty impressive statistic. I didn't know it was so high.
Yeah.
Well, justice will be served on that day.
The only thing about some of these states that have decriminalized marijuana is that some of that's been done by ballot initiative. And in a state like South Dakota, their Republican governor is actively trying to thwart the will of the people as
Yeah,
approved
they-
in a
Oh, what?
Democratic
That's
vote.
what happened here.
What? Are you talking about some kind of obstruction of justice and basic liberties on a high political level?
No, I'm not talking about an obstruction of justice. I'm talking about a failure to implement the will of the people in a valid and voter-approved constitutional amendment in South Dakota.
I would call that an obstruction of. You have just described an obstruction of justice.
Well, I'm no lawyer, but I know what they're doing is wrong. I know that much.
Yeah. So okay. All right.
So the point is, I could certainly see a minority in Congress trying to block this effort on the Republican side. Do the Democrats think they've got the votes for this thing, Sarah?
I don't know. It was proposed by a representative from New Jersey and one from Missouri. Right now, it's all press.
Okay, so we wasted our time arguing for 10 minutes over this. It's just some bill they introduced?
Dude,
We're not arguing.
first off, she said it was proposed. She led with that. It's proposed. Nothing is. Second off, of course, this is not going to happen. Please tell me you're not still living in the pipe dream that there's any
It happened
good
in
things
Oregon.
that happen in.
They
Yeah,
did-
Oregon's doing great.
I'm just saying that they passed it in Oregon, and it's first of all, the war on drugs, the 50th fucking anniversary of that is June 17th, 50 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not,
Failure.
all it was a smokescreen to persecute people of color.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And other.
do I expect progress to happen in the next year? No. I mean, it's going to be just as slow as the fucking inexorable war on drugs was.
Like, that's never going to happen. If it does, like, it would be like with all these catches, all these.
You know, I've got something fun.
It would be an illusion of finally some shred of justice and dignity restored to the people. But in reality, it'd be 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
I got 2 things for you that I think you'll enjoy. First is that I saw economists are saying that there's going to be a huge labor shortage because it turns out during the pandemic, people found out that they value their time more than the slave wages that they've been paid for the past 25 years, which is really interesting to me.
So who's that bad for, a huge labor shortage? Is that bad for us, the common people?
No, it's not. It's bad for capitalism.
Yeah. Looks
not-
like the CEOs are just going to have to get the 3,200-foot yacht instead of the 35.
Right.
Full
And
35.
so there's a lot of talk about that. And there's also a lot of talk about remote work. People are quitting their jobs rather than return to the office because it turns out that they've restructured their work-life balance and enjoy that. I mean, Dad can attest to that.
You know how this is going to end? All these people being like, hey, wait a second. We don't have to be slaves anymore. You know how that's going to end?
How?
They're going to martial law. They're going to be, hey, guess what? Everybody get your fucking ass in McDonald's or we will kill you right now. Eventually down the line, that's going to go.
Well, but I mean, that is how you get the McDonald's army.
Yes, the McDonald's army. I mean, this is basically the plot of the game Outer Worlds, but eventually, like, all these corporations are going to be the new countries.
If capitalism continues to thrive,
Which
yes.
it either will
Or
or
it
will
won't.
or will the earth will turn into a ball of fire before anyone can do anything.
So my second fun thing is, I take astrology. Like, I know it's bullshit, but I also take it more seriously than I probably should.
You're like a
But if you're-
lot of young women your age. Many young women your age take astrology more seriously than they should. And I'm
It's
one
almost
of
like we're desperate for
Desperate
anything in our
for-
lives to make sense.
For somebody to say anything.
So the-
Astrology is as real as anything a politician is going to tell you. You
Right.
know what I mean? These notions of like drugs being decriminalized, like that dream is as real as anything astrology is going to tell you.
yeah. So apparently, the Republic of the United States is entering. Pluto is entering the 12th house of its. If you do a birth chart for the U.S. government, then Pluto's entering the 12th house of U.S.'s natal chart, and that is in 2 years. And when Pluto enters your 12th house, it's a time of change and rebellion. And so, I watch a lot of fucking experts, astrologers on TikTok, and they're like, yeah, dude, you want to know why you're feeling unsettled and why you feel like big changes in the air? It's because Pluto's entering the 12th house of the US Republic.
Oh, wow. Well, they really nailed it.
Yeah.
Now we know what it is.
Yeah. So anyway, down with capitalism.
Big change has always been in the air. The entire human race is in a constant state of flux because we're fucked up still, very fucked up.
Yes, but it's important when we think about Pluto entering our country's Uranus that... did I get that wrong?
Yeah, but keep going. It was funny.
Yeah, well, when that happens, there's going to be a ripping and a tearing that's going to be very uncomfortable. But, it's important to talk about the redeeming time. Pay careful attention, then, to how you walk. Not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time. Because the days are evil. That's from Ephesians. And that makes as much
Ephesians?
fucking sense as Pluto entering my anus.
Who's Ephesians?
I just want to know who told you it was a good idea to start reading from that book. Why you even have that book
Is
at
that
all?
the Buddha thing?
No, it's a fucking.
That's a
I don't even
Jesus
know.
thing.
It's some god shit.
Is it a Bible?
Some
No,
dumb god shit.
Some
Is this something Elsie's parents gave her in a misguided attempt for
Oh,
her
is
to
that
see
what
the light?
this is?
Yes. It's religious literature.
that got sent to Elsie because she's a heathen, according to her parents.
Who's Ephesia?
Actually, it got sent to her son, who is also a heathen,
Yeah, where they try to save from their heathenistic ways.
which is problematic since they, after all, did marry a heathen. Well, Brad married into that family anyway. The heathen family, which we are, family heathens.
Hell
Anyway,
yeah.
evil days. So everyone's saying it. The astrologers to Zeus, to this guy here with the beard, to Ephesians. By the way, that was a letter from the Apostle Paul to the Ephesian church. And that tells you all
On his
you
way
need
to
to know.
Thessalonica
Yeah, on his way to Thessalonica to get Pluto
to
and
get
Janus.
blown by a lady boy.
No, Paul would never do that. Paul, well, he might actually. Now that I
don't think
about
we
it.
know what these apostles would or wouldn't do. All we have is secondhand stories written centuries after the fact about
were-
people who may or may not have even existed.
They're
at all.
they're all a bunch of teenage rebels. I imagine that there's very little they would not do
I think
in terms
they're-
of sexual deviancy.
I
Well,
think
wait a
they were
minute
all
now.
Just a bunch of hallucinogenic swallowing,
Teenage
not
rebels.
necessarily gay, but pansexual orgy having.
Teenage rebels. Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
I don't think. I mean, maybe some of them were teens. Some
They
of them were
were.
surely 60. You know, all ages.
No. The
Some of them
apostles
were
were
a
young.
little bit younger than teens, I'm sure.
Listen, all of you. You all are a bunch of heathens. The Apostle Paul was a tax collector, so he had to be kind of old. And I'll tell you another thing, he was very, very, very sexually repressed. He did not believe in sexual relations other than to procreate, and that is why the Catholic Church is the way that it is today, because the Apostle Paul told them. And ironically, the Apostle Paul never even met Jesus Christ in the flesh. He just had a vision of him. He didn't even come around until at least 75 years after Christ had died.
I was gonna say I had a good witty retort, but you kept going, and now I forgot what part of it.
Damn.
I told you to quit smoking that reefer, son.
No,
Shut up.
yeah, that was because you kept talking. That wasn't because it's because you didn't shut up. That's what that was.
That's my problem. I'm sorry.
That's not weed's fault.
Or is it?
Well, it kind of is actually.
Sure.
Just in the other direction.
Sure
Now
it
I
is.
reversed it towards you.
You did. And you still don't
yeah.
fucking remember what you were going to say.
Oh yeah, the Catholic Church is the way it is because Paul didn't believe in sex aside from procreation, and that has worked out very well, not only for them but for just innocence in general.
Great idea.
Big ups on the scoreboard for forcing people to I don't even know. The Catholics, they're just a bunch of pedophiles. This is a whole big long workaround to Catholics are pedophiles.
Catholics equals pedophiles. That was your subject. And then, that's all you need to say.
And even if you're a Catholic who is not a pedophile and you have like a wife and children or a husband and children, whatever it is, to me, you are a pedophile until proven otherwise. All Catholics, every single last one. If
So
you
you're-
are an active practitioner of the Catholic religion, you are a pedophile until proven. The burden of proof is on you to prove to me that you are not a pedophile.
How do you propose to do that, though? Like, do you have to tape every sexual encounter you ever have?
That's their problem.
Okay.
That's the pedophile's problem.
I bet there's brain grafts you could do,
That's
like
for
brain
them to
scans.
figure out. Maybe, yeah. One thing I would like is for people to get, like, as far as medicine goes, aside from the big ones like cancer, destroying cancer, and all that other shit, and not extorting people, whatever. Let's not get into that. I just want people to understand the brain better.
I saw a disturbing thing on, it must have been TikTok, a disturbing factoid. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, I want to be disturbed.
I also
Oh.
wish to be disturbed. In fact, I am already disturbed by Nick's anti-religious railings.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why
Yeah,
are you
why?
disturbed by Nick's
You're not-
anti-religious railings when you raised us pretty agnostically?
Why? Well, you're not throwing in your lot with those pedophiles, are you?
No, I'm just saying you're on fire.
If you ever hear me refer to just like general pedophiles,
You mean Catholics?
I'm talking about Catholics, yeah.
God damn.
Or a politician or anyone with a lot of money, elites, quote unquote elites, the Clintons, the Bushes, the Kennedys,
Uh-huh.
all them. Well, those ones are like, they have proven the other way that they are pedophiles.
What were you saying, Dad?
Well-
oh, the disturbing factoid.
All those people I named are pedophiles, by the way.
Do you know why people have feet fetishes?
Because feet.
No, I would love to know why. I've always said that. Like, what is how does...
I
you
can
know?
tell you why. Because a foot is something you can get some friction going on. It's
Oh,
that simple.
Thanks. Thanks
I
for
mean,
thanks for that.
uh,
It's
look,
not
So
though.
his hands, so his titties, so his mouth.
There's a fetish for every flavor.
Okay,
But
but the
why?
scientific reason why people like feet is because apparently there's some center in your brain that's super fucking close to your pleasure center, and so sometimes those wires just get crossed.
Some foot center.
Yeah,
There's like
there's a foot
there's
center.
a part of your brain that's just.
Hold
This is
on.
where we do the feet.
Yeah,
This is how we process feet.
it's a foot bridge, if you will.
I see. It's a footbridge. I
That was
get
so
it.
good.
It was all right. Pretty good.
The
Break out
sheer
the-
devastation on your face told me how good it was.
Everything turned black and white for a second.
We might have to break out the laugh track on that one.
Okay, pause. Let me see it. This might be it.
You could map out on that somatosensory cortex where you feel everything on your brain. And right here in the middle, you can see that your feet and your toes are right next to your genitals on your brain. It's so easy for these wires to get crossed because they're literally bumping up against each other.
This is more like why people like to have their feet fucked instead of fucking
Oh.
people's feet.
Yeah, so that part's still a mystery.
Well,
Kind of.
I think Dad might be right on that. It's just friction.
I
Yeah.
guess, but it's a foot. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but it's like some people just see a foot or like it's
That's
squishing
probably
shit and their dick gets hard.
Pavlovian. It's got to be Pavlovian after a certain fashion.
I guess, but like we're delving into questions that probably shouldn't be answered.
You're
Look.
right. I would like to make one thing incredibly clear. We don't kink shame here.
No.
Well,
Look,
there are some kinks we shame.
legal kinks we don't shame.
Yes, fully legal kinks we do not shame. Yeah,
Unless you're a furry.
yeah that's a little.
All right, so we do
That's a
kink
little
shame.
beyond the pale.
We-
I'm not gonna shame vor either, but vor is so fucked. That's another one. Like,
Yeah.
how does that sexually stimulate you to imagine being swallowed whole by someone, or you swallowing
You got
someone
mommy
whole?
issues, man.
Is that what that is?
If you listen to Freud, it is.
I
You want to be back in the womb.
Freud was a dumb asshole. I mean, he was,
And yet he shaped psychology for 50 years. Isn't it crazy how much one man can fuck an entire scientific field?
if there's any, yeah, right. If there's anything I've learned about mental and brain related sciences, is that every year we just learn how much we didn't know the year before. Same thing with history, though, too. Like most of history is just disproving the simple narratives that are demonstrably false that are taught in every
I saw another article
class.
recently that was saying, I can't remember what state it was in or if it was just the southern states in general, but there were a bunch of teachers that I don't remember if they signed a petition or what, but they're like, yeah, we're not teaching this revisionist history anymore. Like, even if you tell us not to say what's going on with current events and how racist America is, we're going to keep teaching it because it is.
Yeah, but the problem is that all that matters in America is that a child passes a standardized test.
Thanks, Bush.
So if your children are not passing the standardized test, no matter where your heart is at, if they're all failing because you're teaching them the truth, you know,
Sit down and buckle up, kids. It's all tests, all Fridays. The rest of it's pure racism.
yeah, they're just going to fire you,
Well, that all comes down to funding.
which of course is fucked, and there is
Yeah.
none.
Well, I gotta say that I don't think they're teaching our children enough about foot fetishes.
Bro, they still teach abstinent only fucking sex ed. So you're right. You're not wrong. But there are also bigger concerns.
Well, that is true. But I will say again, just to wrap up the foot fetish thing, that any place where you can get some friction, it's going to be game on. The ancient Greeks called it intercrural sex. What they would do is they would face their young pederast victim so that they could look in their eyes and impart wisdom to him while they rubbed their penis between the young person's thighs.
Why,
Is this-
why
in a-
are we having
in a
this sex
No,
ed
I
talk
really-
right
No, I
now?
want to hear it go. Just
In
let
a
'em go.
thrusting motion,
I know
such
what
that there would
intercrural
be.
sex is. I don't
I
need to
didn't
hear
know
his.
that. Is that what that is? Just
That's called
fucking someone's
intercrural
thighs?
sex, yeah. I did not know
Okay.
that either. I saw it on Wikipedia. I was fascinated by it.
I just wanted to see like how deep his knowledge. I was just gonna let him go until he
Finished?
explained. Well, I wasn't gonna put it quite that way, but yes.
Well, I'm done with my
Lord knows I
speechifying, if
did.
that's what you mean.
No.
I can finish
This
at a
is
moment's
why
notice.
I need therapy.
I can finish with no motion whatsoever. Buddy, you're watching me do it right now.
I think that's intracural. All right, anyway, look, here's the point. And the point is that our sex education is terrible. I remember the first real sex
Professor
education.
Peter Shin teaching ancient Greek pedophilia 101 at UNO.
Oh, God. Look it up in Wikipedia. That's all I'm saying. Or don't.
Okay.
I don't even know how it came up in my search. Oh, God damn. I got to clear my
Yeah,
search
you better
history.
not. You better not say how it came up in your search.
Oh, my God.
Good thing your hard drive just got wiped. Saved your
Lord.
own ass there.
I sure did, I guess. I don't know. Now, the feds will be in. Take a look at my computer. It's fine. You can have at it.
Hey, like, what happened to Jeffrey Epstein's computer? Remember when they were like, "Oh, we got his computers. It's full of data." You know, what
No,
happened
I
to the
don't
book?
remember
What
that.
happened to the computer? Yeah, like I guess the feds, somebody, some government branch. There was footage of them raiding his compound. One of his compound. He had many.
All of them
And,
in the United States got raided. And what happened was the computer, they had the hard drive, got the computer. It turns out
And a
all
guy
of
slipped on a banana peel. The commanding officer of the SWAT team slipped on a banana peel. Whoopsie daisy, and the hard drive shattered.
Beheaded
into-
him.
Yeah, beheaded him and then had to be destroyed because it was not safe.
No, that's not true at all. What happened is the hard drive took its own life in a tragic
yeah.
turn of events. No one
The
could have
hard
seen it
drive was
coming.
found dead in its evidence locker.
It was.
Rule of suicide. I mean,
Yeah, obvious suicide. No evidence of foul play, certainly, if that's what you're thinking. So it's unfortunate, but, these things happen in criminal justice system. And the answer is, of course, all of the data that Jeffrey Epstein had has not come to light, but apparently some of it is going to be used as evidence against Ghislaine Maxwell.
yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Hey, we got Ghislaine Maxwell. The pedophiles are done. The problem is solved. Relax, everybody.
Look,
we got them.
I do have a question though. Like, don't you want at least some people to be prosecuted? Like, I understand that I get your stance on it's lulling the general populace into a false sense of security or whatever, but isn't it better than nothing being done?
No, this is like it's an insult. You know what I mean? This is the same thing, if not worse, than nothing being done. This is escape. She's a patsy, dude. The main,
I get that.
Like it's insulting. It's insulting to the victims. They already killed Epstein in his prison cell, dude. There's multiple pictures of the Clintons with him, Bill, Hillary. They loved him. They were cool with him, and not just them. Trump too, probably.
Trump was quoted. There's video of Trump.
Yeah, I did not mean to say probably. Definitely, of course. And of course, there's footage of Trump all coked out dancing with Epstein. All of them. Every single person, left to right, all your heroes are fucking kids. 100%.
There was a picture of Epstein and Trump on one of their yachts with Ivanka and Donald Jr. And that's like the only image I've seen of them. And I was like, well, that's enough for me.
You haven't seen that one video of it? Trump was looking younger. He must have been like in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah,
And
that's
he's just
right.
like, at some club dancing, and Jeffrey Epstein's right there, like moving to the beat, and Trump's just like whispering in his ear and shit about clearly just trying to talk to him over the music. And
Do
he's
some
like
kind of
pointing
business.
That wasn't at Epstein's club. That was at Epstein's crib.
Doesn't matter really the location, aside from the fact that it wasn't a sacrificial altar to Moloch and at the bottom of Little St. James,
No, but I
But,
am saying that he had a disco in his pad. That's all I'm saying. You thought it was a nightclub. No, that's his house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little St. James is one of the islands that he owned had the temple on it.
To
Yeah.
Moloch.
I didn't know that.
The point is, like, people are like, oh, Trump, like, he's boys with Epstein. I'm like, yes, he is. So are the Clintons. They're playing you. If you think one is better than the other, you're played.
Well,
you know?
speaking of this, of course, it's come out now that when word came out, Bill Gates had been spending time with Jeff Epstein. That's the point at which Melinda French Gates pulled the plug on their marriage. So that should tell you something.
Exactly, man. This is what I'm saying. Anybody who's rich, any politician on any level, all of them are pedophiles until proven otherwise.
But,
And
like,
that's
why?
not that
How does
crazy
that
to say.
happen?
I don't know. I just know, like, if you're a politician, you have a good heart, like you really want to just make change in your community, your career's never going to take off unless you start fucking kids. That's just the way it is. You cannot be a good, a influential politician.
It's like the game or whatever.
That's the game. Some people, they genuinely like fucking kids. Other people, they do it because you have to. Either way, though, they're fucking kids.
I've met some guys
Right.
that I don't think are fucking kids. I don't think they're fucking anyone. They're like corpses. It's Weekend at Bernie's. And I am talking
So they
about
never
Bernie
have?
Sanders.
Because they can't anymore doesn't mean they never dipped into maybe when Larry E. King was the Epstein before Epstein, never paid them a visit ever, never once in their career.
Yeah, I can't say that that's the case.
The thing that you have to realize is that it's new to us, kind of. Like within the last 5 years, we've discovered just how deep the rot is. But the fact of the matter is that it is always, just because we weren't aware of it, doesn't mean that it wasn't happening. It was always happening the whole time. So it's like,
You may actually be entirely correct. I mean, I had my mind blown with that information about the Ku Klux Klan running the state of Colorado in the 20s.
you see how easy it is.
It was at that time.
All you need is a group of people.
But that story had, I think, a positive ending. And you know how it ended? The guy who was the grand dragon of the Colorado KKK, whose name escapes me, I don't have the article in front of me, he got arrested and sent to prison for tax evasion. And his whole political empire
Justice
crumbled.
served.
Justice was served, but it doesn't mean that any of his victims weren't horribly traumatized. It doesn't mean that racism disappeared. It meant that there was some comeuppance for the leader in that particular case.
Yeah. Hey, can I just interject right here? When I said justice served, that was highly sarcastic. Justice was not served. That is a mockery and an insult of justice. The fucking grand motherfucking dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, he went to prison. Oh, good. For what? Tax evasion? That's not good.
What do you propose?
The government doesn't care that you were burning crosses and lynching black people. They care that they didn't get their cut. Oh, justice is served. That would be insulting to me as a victim of his. He went to prison for fucking tax evasion.
But what's the label of it matter? If he's going to serve prison time one way or another.
The label doesn't matter, but the charge matters. Like if it's tax evasion, you're going to club fed. It's not going to be as harsh as like the things that a goddamn grand dragon of the Ku Klux Klan did. Do you think he deserves to go to jail for something that tax evasion?
Do you think there were any laws that he could have been persecuted for?
Prosecuted,
That
I
would
think is
have
what you mean.
prosecuted?
They did the same thing to Al Capone. They couldn't get him on any of that shit. So they got him on tax evasion, put him away in Alcatraz, and ultimately his prison term really spelled the end of his power too. So tax evasion is a powerful legal tool that can be used to punish people who deserve to be punished. And I'm looking at you, Donald J. fucking Trump. That's right.
Well, that's done. He's never
No, it's
gonna.
not.
No, it isn't.
Okay, all right. Hey, I can't see into the future. Maybe you're right. Maybe for once, this one time, justice will be carried out on this man.
It's not necessarily justice either, but to Dad's point, there are still tax evasion charges being brought up on him.
Well, let's make a bet. We don't have to put any money on it, but I'm just going to bet that he will never, ever see any repercussions, or at the very least, he will never, ever see the inside of a jail cell till the day he dies. I'm putting my bet
Would
right
you
there.
bet a small business loan of $1 million?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make it more realistic. Sarah, if Donald J. Trump ends up in jail, Nick will buy your house in Tampa.
I will become your realtor.
And if he never serves a day in jail, and let's give that just until 2030. I mean, if it doesn't happen in this decade, it's not going to happen. If it doesn't happen by 2030, you have to give Nicholas $400 that he lost from his wallet.
Why the fuck am I getting fucked in both of these situations?
Well, I think I'm the one who's getting fucked. I have to buy a house. You give me $400.
I don't want to sell you my house.
Oh, really? Because the last time I talked to you, you wanted that house sold.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I did want that.
Yeah, you
This will be
did.
2030 though, and Tampa will be completely underwater. So you're going to want to scoot that
Tampa's not
mortgage
gonna-
onto
that's
me.
Miami.
The entire dick that is Florida will break off and fall into the Atlantic.
Like the
Mark my words.
diseased gonorrhea.
Yeah, like
should
the
we-
diseased hog that it is.
Should we have a wager on that as well? If like
Florida is the diseased hog of America. I think that's fair.
that could be a excellent tourism slogan. Florida, the diseased hog of America. Come check us out.
Come sniff our diseased hog.
Look, enough people would do it.
I would love that. I would love that. If Florida literally made their state motto the diseased hog of America, I would move there on that merit alone.
You and many others.
Yeah. How could you not?
You would be building the Florida Man base.
You're like, I'm a flea and I want to live on the carcass of a diseased hog. Let's go.
Yeah. A self-actualized diseased hog. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're all living in the diseased hog that is
That is
America.
America.
But the diseased hog has a diseased hog. And
Yeah,
that
the piglet.
Sure. We're getting kind of meta with the diseased hogs. It's kind of an infinite kaleidoscope of.
It's like those nesting Russian dolls or whatever.
Yes, inside each
Yes.
one a fresh diseased hog.
What are they called?
Yeah, they're called nesting dolls.
Not a tchotchke, right? Is it a tchotchke?
Yeah, it's not
Tchotchke just means knick-knack, I think.
There's a word. I know it, and I'll remember it in like 15 days.
for
Just
Russian
Google
doll.
fucking-
Nah, I think it's just Russian doll.
That's pretty fucking funny. Jesus Christ, you put us all through this. I had to do a big search and everything.
Is there another name?
Oh, you don't know. Also,
Matryoshka.
how about also known as babushka dolls, stacking dolls, nesting dolls, Russian tea dolls, or Russian dolls?
Okay,
And
just Russian dolls.
Babushka's grandma.
the name
Yeah.
Matryoshka, literally little matron, is a diminutive form of the Russian female first name Matriona or Matryoshka.
You know what I saw
So they're
earlier today?
They're Matryoshka dolls.
Hey, pipe down. That's enough with that. You know what I saw?
Fucking Oxford.
You know what I saw today on my YouTube suggestions?
I don't know, but you telling Dad to pipe down was the funniest thing you've
It
ever
felt
done.
good. It felt really good.
I
felt
laughed
great.
and laughed.
Anyway, I saw on my
It's been
YouTube
25 years in
suggestions.
the making.
It was great.
A
I'll have
quarter
another
century in the making.
Yeah.
Nick tells Dad to pipe down. Coming on A&E.
They were a happy father and son until they weren't. It just shows the picture of us smiling with our arms around each other, and the photo goes negative until they weren't.
And then it rips.
Anyway, I saw in my suggested videos, and I had like at least a few 100,000 views. I want to say like 1 million or whatever. And it's like Lord of the Rings expert answers all your questions about Middle Earth. I just see that. I'm like, yeah. They all laughed at him when he was a kid reading those Lord of the Rings books. Little did
Is
they
this-
know that Lord of the Rings expert would be a thing lauded on YouTube, which is also going to be a big thing.
Was it Stephen Colbert?
No, it was just some ethnically ambiguous guy, kind of fat, old. He could have been just tan and white. That's neither here nor there. I'm just like, that's his title is Lord of the Rings expert. And he's like,
He's read the Silmarillion back to front to back.
Silmarillion.
Silmarillion. That's how I'd pronounce it.
I've actually never read it, so yeah.
I heard that's the driest one.
No, it's pretty good. I mean, it's real old-timey because it's talking about all the First Age history. So you get all that First Age history. The main thing I took away from it, though, is that Galadriel has been around. You know, you see her at the end of the Third Age there when Frodo goes and visited Galadriel. What the hell's her name? Kate Winslet or whatever. And so he goes and visits her, you know.
Liv Tyler.
Yeah,
No,
that other, the
that's-
one with that won an Oscar for
That's our one.
that Woody Allen movie. You know who I'm talking about? She also played Bob Dylan. You remember that?
Yeah.
Kate
Thanos?
Blanchett. Anyway, Frodo goes and visits Kate Blanchett. He does that in that Golden Woods. She's been around since the First Age. She's been around since the beginning, since the elves first awakened. She's been around that fucking long.
Since Morgoth was the Dark Lord.
That's exactly right. Since before Morgoth showed himself to be the Dark Lord. How about
Yeah,
that?
when he was still just the favored child of,
Back when he was Lucifer.
Is he an allegory for Mordred?
No, he's an allegory
for-
for the devil, of course.
for the devil. Yeah,
So yes, okay.
sure.
Anyway, that's what I remember from the Silmarillion. Wow, she's been around a long time.
Old bitch.
Nerd.
I'm a nerd, or
fucking
she is?
nerd.
She's a nerd.
Okay.
Kill this dork. Kill this dork.
Pipe down.
The reversal.
2 points.
It is. All right.
Anyway, so what are we talking about?
I was
Some
just
bullshit.
I was just making fun of the fact that Lord of the Rings expert is a title that can be.
And then I
They-
broke off some fucking hot knowledge on you about Lord of the Rings.
You did.
Can you speak Elvish?
Fuck you.
Can you write in Elvish? Would like the one
Nick
ring,
gets
though.
a pipe down and I get a fuck you.
Well, okay. Let me rephrase that. Pipe down.
Pipe down and fuck off.
So back to your place in Tampa.
Fuck down.
Is it true?
Wait, no.
I think I like that. That's like not ever been done before.
Fuck
hey,
down.
fuck down, will you?
I like that. No, let's coin that. Hey, fuck down. What
Yeah,
do
I think I'm gonna start saying that.
That's the
think so,
title of
too.
this episode.
All right.
Hey, you, fuck down.
Yeah. Just fuck down.
Yeah, I'll have to obviously use little symbols for that in the title. Or
Why?
Apple will reject it.
Oh,
have to.
Apple. Yeah. Okay.
And
YouTube
YouTube.
don't give a fuck.
Everybody else. Anyway, irrespective of that, Sarah, you bought this house
Me?
in
Yes.
Tampa.
I did.
You and your wife.
I did do that. We did do that.
Did you want to name the exact street address or?
You bought a house in Florida, you and your wife. You
Yes.
bought a house in the southern part of the United States.
In what could be called the diseased hog of America. I won't get any more specific than that, but
Well,
Really the armpit of.
when last
the
I
armpit of the diseased hog
Correct.
of America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when last I spoke to you about this purchase, you were feeling a bit of buyer's remorse. How are you feeling today?
It's funny that you say that because the day that you called me was the day I did feel the fucking worst about it. It was rough. Let me say two things to you. And I said this to Nick on the drive home today. One, do you know how much it fucking costs to stage a house? And two, do you know what makes a house a home?
Not having packages stolen off the front porch?
Well, depends on what your definition of home is. No,
So-
a couch. A couch makes a house a home.
Oh, wow, man. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, me neither. Until I put one in there and I no longer felt homicidal and suicidal.
Oh, really?
Tommy Suey.
So,
Yeah.
so it was just a couch. A couch separated you from happiness. Is that true?
I didn't have anywhere to sit, dude. There was nowhere in that fucking place to sit.
You don't realize how much you would like to sit until the option is taken from you.
That's true. That's torture. That's what they
Yeah,
do to
much like the
prisoners of war.
prisoners placed in stress positions in Abu Ghraib.
I had put myself into the Floridian
Tampa
Abu Ghraib.
Ghraib. Abu Tampa. Abu Tampa's a lot better.
Look, I'm feeling a lot better about it now that it's actually staged. We spent some time in it, spent some time in the neighborhood.
Got to know the convenience store.
I did send Murphy to go get butter from the convenience store and she returned alive. So
With
That's a
butter?
good-
with butter.
With the butter even.
Well, it wasn't butter, it was margarine, but yes.
Could she have gotten Kerrygold Irish butter there, do you think?
Oh, no. Or she would have. We're kind
Yeah.
of bougie.
The only butter they got in that bodega is just a white container with butter written in Sharpie on
No,
the
with a
side.
stamp.
Butter.
like a kindergarten stamp of a smiling cow.
Yeah. And you're like, is there any nutrition facts on there? They're like, do you want the butter or not?
The butter was milked from Bertha in the back room. Okay, what do you want from me?
Is Bertha a cow? No.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answers.
I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there. You are not ready for the truth. Do you want the butter or not? Does it taste like butter? Do you want the butter or not? You're clearly not in a position to bargain with me here because I'm the one with the butter.
And you're the one in my store.
You're the one still holding the butter.
So you're not going to sell the place, is what I'm hearing.
I mean, I might, but I didn't sell it in the second week that I was there. So that's an improvement on my situation from 2 weeks ago.
Are you ready to rent it?
No.
What are you waiting on? You got a few more pieces of furniture to put in there or what?
Yes. And I mean, yes, it's not finished being staged and the yard needs done. And also, I still have to look up local ordinances and regulations and find a property manager.
So you don't know if you can rent this place out? Are you fucking kidding me with this?
I could have a long-term renter. That I have no doubt about. But whether or not I can turn it into a short-term rental is something that I'm still looking into.
I see. Well, I know you'll get that all figured out. I'm just glad you're not feeling like you want to kill yourself because I've been there. I talked to you. Did I make you feel any better when we talked? I hope I did.
I mean, yes and no. Yes, you did because A, I know that you've been in a similar situation, but B, it's kind of just a you got to wait and see type thing. So, yes, it was helpful.
In a sense,
just-
yes. But in another, truer sense, no.
But in another truer sense, fuck down.
I would have appreciated if during our phone call you would have fucked down a little bit.
Man, this thing's going to take off.
It is, dude. Just wait. And then, you know.
Then
they'll
fuck
be
down.
Then they'll be sorry.
Then they'll be
Then
fucked
they'll
down.
see.
Then they'll
Then
fuck
all
down.
fuck down.
You know we
Fuck
will.
down to me.
Oh, heavens. Hey, you guys watched anything this week? I haven't seen a damn thing. Oh, I lied. I did, in fact, see nobody.
I'm gonna mess you up. It's been a hell of a day.
You can see that.
I used to work for some dangerous people, but I left it behind to start a family. Hey! I might have overcorrected. They came after my family, and you don't do that.
They stole my kitty cat bracelet.
Give me the damn kitty cat bracelet!
Who are you?
I'm nobody.
Ooh, I was just thinking about this movie the other day.
Didn't
What'd you
watch
think?
That like 2 weeks ago.
It's been 2 weeks since I talked to him,
Oh,
and he lost last week's episode.
it was such a good one too.
Not like this.
Anyway, you watched Nobody. What'd you think?
I loved it. I loved it.
Right?
Except there were a couple of plot holes. Like, he comes across as this big pussy at the beginning. You know, he could be a little bit more menacing. It didn't make sense to me that he would be completely milquetoast and then have this rage released in him that turned him into the baddest man on the planet. That didn't make sense to me.
Really?
Although,
You've never felt that?
The way you just described that seemed like a logical A to B right there. He's like some little pussy ass bitch who never does anything, and then finally he's set over the edge.
No, but in the past he was a super badass. So how do you
Yeah.
go from being a super badass to being super milquetoast to being again super badass?
Cover.
It sounds like somebody who has never had to compartmentalize shit in his life.
That's not true at all.
I know, but
All right, you're right. Okay. He did say at one point in the movie, I may have overcorrected.
yeah.
But he was referring to his violence. But the best part about that movie, just as the best part about the original John Wick, although you kind of always knew this about John Wick, right? You always knew every second of the way in that movie that John Wick was a true badass. It does kind of unfold in Nobody that, hey, he's a badass, but he's going up against a really sick psychopathic badass in this Ukrainian, right? But then it turns out that he's even more badass than the Ukrainian. The Ukrainian bit off more than he can chew with this motherfucker. So that's kind of like John Wick, that part.
My favorite part of that is when the research girl walks in, throws all the paper down. She's like, I quit. You don't have to pay me. I'm done.
That's right. That's your first hint that the character whose name is Nobody, that's his name as far as I'm concerned, that he's really the baddest of the baddest asses. Anyway, Nick, here's the point. You got to see it when it comes out where you can see it for free.
Okay, I'll do that.
You don't sound that enthused. I think you should be.
No, I am. I'm just tired.
What from?
From driving to Kansas City, from getting up at 6 in the morning after going to sleep at 3, 2 nights in a row now I've done that.
Wait a minute. You just drove to Kansas City?
And back,
to pick me up, yeah.
I had no idea that was going
I
on.
woke up at 6 a.m. Well, first I drove Johnny to Nebraska City, and then I went to Kansas City.
Well, that's a good brother right there.
I know.
It's
He don't know how to take the thank you.
yeah.
Well, that's very nice. I don't think I've ever had anyone drive to Kansas City and pick me up, ever.
Yeah, well, have you ever asked anyone to do that?
You know what? I haven't. Maybe I should just fuck down.
Yeah. If you could just fuck down a little bit like I asked you earlier, I think this whole thing will go a lot smoother.
Almost certainly. So you didn't see anything, obviously. Sarah, you've been busy not watching TV because your house doesn't have TV down there in Florida.
I'm almost done with the first season of Demon Slayer. There's like 24 episodes in the first season.
There's the first season, then there's the movie, which just came out, and now they're making the second season.
So is Levi the voice actor of somebody in the Japanese version of that?
Do you mean the Japanese voice of Levi? Is he the voice of somebody in the Japanese version of Demon Slayer?
Yeah.
Probably, because if you listen to the English dubs, you'll notice like it's the same like 10 people
Yeah.
who do everything
It's a
for
small
every.
circle.
Yeah.
But
So-
my point was there was a bunch of memes that was like, all I want is somebody to go to the Demon Slayer movie with me and go, Eren Yeager.
Yeah, well, he's probably somebody in there.
So, Demon Slayer, you recommend it?
Yeah, it's a great show. I love that show. Demon Slayer's awesome.
If I could only watch one, Attack on Titan or Demon Slayer, which would you recommend?
Attack on
Attack
Titan.
on Titan 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
All right. Well, I got to make
That
time
show
for
is
that.
fucking crazy.
Demon Slayer is like a very, I don't want to say generic, but it is kind of a generic anime. Like
it's kind of generic, yeah. What's cool about it is the animation is good and
Yeah.
the story's kind of fresh.
it's not
It's
it's not
generic in
bad.
a way that you got the main antagonist, something really fucked up happens to him, and
Yeah.
now he has to train to become stronger. Oh, what's this? He's
It's-
like stronger
it's
than normal. Oh,
Classic. It's a classical kind of, it follows a classic formula if I
Yeah.
had to say something. And the animation, not the animation, but like the,
which can be a bad thing, but the animation is very good, and the story's kind of fresh. You know, it's just good.
the character art is very typical of anime. And Attack on Titan is not any of those things.
No, yeah. Attack on Titan is all of the good things we just said, and none of theirs. I mean, that show is so fucking crazy in so many ways. Just on its face, it really reminds you how scary a giant person would be. Like a giant cannibal being eaten alive by a giant man or
Yeah.
woman.
They make it just so unsettling.
Yeah, it's really, the animation style makes it creepy, scary. And then, like, you feel the pressure. And there's so many situations where, like, you know, they have devices and technology to, like, get around the fact that they're tiny and, like, you know, help them fight these titans. But always their horse gets fucked up, their equipment fails, and then they're just in the middle of these pack of titans. And it's always a slow, drawn out, fucking horrible, tense thing. It's great. It's phenomenal.
All right, well, I'll watch it. You know who would have a great comment on this? Noah. I sure do miss that boy. I bet he's not even listening to our show.
What happened to him?
He went to Canada.
For keeps?
Well, they don't have internet. He's like in the backwoods of Ontario. And his grandmother doesn't have good internet, so he can't participate.
How long is he there? Was the question.
That was the question.
That
Thank
remained
you.
unanswered.
Like, I was just gonna let him fucking fizzle himself out, but
Classic obfuscation. He's there for the summer. He should be back in early August to go to school this fall. He's helping his grandma, his Grim-Gram.
Great.
I don't
I
know.
was just talking about Noah the other day.
Grim-gram.
What were you saying?
That he lived around there somewhere.
Wow, that was a really deep conversation you had about that boy. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. I was thinking about you, Noah, and your
Yeah.
general cryptid whereabouts.
Yeah.
Which is in Ontario.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm so tired I feel high.
Perhaps it's
Yeah.
time to let you
Yeah.
go get some much-needed rest.
Yesterday I had to get up early too
Yeah.
because I had to go look at the new apartment and my fucking sleeping schedule's fucked up. So I only got like
Are you
4.
working right now?
No.
He's going to school, dog.
I'm going to
I did
to-
both.
to
I was just asking.
School.
It's possible to do both.
And I have done both as well, but
Yeah.
Why
you weren't
would-
getting paid to go to school. If you were, you wouldn't have done both.
Fuck no.
Why would you?
I don't know, but I know this. You went and saw a new apartment yesterday. What'd you think of that?
That was great. Great apartment.
Congratulations. Everybody's getting new abodes.
It's actually a little bit smaller than the one I'm in, but it doesn't feel smaller. And it's got hardwood and stainless steel appliances and a washer and dryer, and it has lights.
Yeah, your apartment was pretty like.
It has no lights. Like,
why is that?
because it's a dungeon. Because this is the space that they use to torture people,
And they didn't want to be faced with their sins.
physically and psychologically. It was all part of the thing.
Well, I hope that works out for you. Glad
Is
you're
this like
back.
a second floor apartment?
Yeah. But they are, you know, they have a bunch of first floors too. And I'm like, I'll take those because it's on the first floor, not a subterranean level.
Level, yeah.
You don't have to walk downstairs to get to it.
I don't have to walk into the earth to get to my living space.
Look, I'm not
Which
a
is
fucking
nice.
hobbit. I'm too big for that. Just
I'm
look
not a
at me.
fucking chud, okay? I would prefer not to have to slither into the darkness every time I want to go home.
You know what you are? You're picky.
Yeah, I'm a picky bitch. I always have been.
Well, I do hope that that works out for you. Sarah, I'm so glad you're home, and I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
A Shin Show is a production of Shinfluence. It features the voices and opinions of the Shin family, which are entirely and exclusively their own. Join us each week on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks as always to our regular listeners. We love to hear from you. Please email us at ashinshow@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.